Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inside HubSpot Content Hub, an event where we're going to take a close look at the exciting new Content Hub announced by HubSpot and find out what it means for B2B marketers who want to use HubSpot and content to drive demand for their business. I'm your host, Phil Vallander, and I'm the co-founder of Blend. And at Blend, we've been specializing in building websites on HubSpot CMS for going on 10 years now, so I'm incredibly excited for today's topic. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Gabe Wahhab. Gabe is Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Content Hub team at HubSpot. And prior to joining HubSpot, Gabe started and ran his own successful web development agency, which I remember well from our early days as HubSpot partners, and led a AI tech startup. So he's literally sat on all three sides of the marketing table and has seen it all, especially when it comes to CMS technology. So, Gabe, thank you for joining us today. This must be a pretty exciting time for you too.
Super, super exciting. Of course, very happy to be here chatting with you. But, we've been working on Content Hub for the last 10 months now, and I've had to keep it all under wraps. Couldn't tell anybody about it, and just have been so excited to finally get it out into the wild and see everybody's reactions to it.
We can tell you've been incredibly busy and working incredibly hard on this very exciting launch. If you're joining us live today and you have questions about how Content Hub benefits your business, or you have questions about how you can utilize it, then please feel free to post them in the comments on LinkedIn. We will attempt to get to them if there's time at the end of the event. But without further ado, let's dive straight into the good stuff. And would you mind by starting, Gabe, by giving people an overview, a high-level introduction to what is this Content Hub that we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Content Hub, it's an all-in-one AI-powered content tool to help you create and manage all your content to really fuel the customer journey. So if we break that down, essentially it gives you all your content tools in one place. Your blogging, your podcasting, your landing pages, your website pages, everything you need really for your content spectrum. It's going to be all in one spot. So you don't have to go to 5 different tools, this AI tool, this content creation tool. You have everything in one spot, in one roof. And then combine that, of course, with your lead generation and marketing automation tools, and you really have a complete content marketing tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we go into what's new about Content Hub, I want to make sure our viewers have the full picture, so to speak. And a big component of it is something that was already there, HubSpot CMS. Are you able to remind us a little bit of the potted history of CMS at HubSpot and what its mission when it comes to CMS, was? Because it's such a big component of what Content Hub offers to users and customers.
Yeah, the CMS flies under the radar sometimes at HubSpot, but it's such really an amazing tool, and it's one of the reasons actually that I was so interested in HubSpot early on. So, like you mentioned earlier, we were a web development agency back in the day, and we really specialized actually in open source at the time. We were actually very well known open source agency, used to travel all over the world, speaking at different events, and really we're on the forefront of that. And then when HubSpot came out, it really got our attention. So we're talking now, we probably joined HubSpot about 2011, 2012. And at that time, they actually had a CMS that was built into very super, super basic CMS. I don't know if you could even technically call it that, but that's what it was. And at that time, we really refused to use it. It was just really bad. But then they launched about a year or two later, 2013, what is today's modern CMS. And, for us as an open source provider at the time, every little thing you needed to install this plugin, you needed to update this, you needed to keep on top of maintenance. You were the hosting expert, you were the plugin expert, you were the one who was making modifications and getting it to work exactly how you wanted it. And when the CMS came around, there was 2 things that were like incredibly valuable at that time. One, it was a SaaS CMS, which now there's so many SaaS CMSs, but at that time, there really wasn't. That was something that was very novel in itself. And so it was a SaaS CMS, which meant that you didn't have to worry about doing all these plugin updates. You didn't have to worry about your hosting. You didn't have to worry about your security. It was just there for you, and you could focus on building beautiful things and getting results essentially for your clients. But then the second thing that I think was really revolutionary for its time was something called smart content. And it wasn't just about these static web experiences. HubSpot was very ahead of their time in saying, no, we can create personalized experiences, and we're going to bring this down to the small business and mid-market level and allow people to create these personalized, experiences that when you come to a website, it's going to be personalized to that specific user, to their message, to what's going to be, to what's going to resonate with them and get conversion. And that was something that I think was incredibly, it was really revolutionary for its time.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally consistent with our impressions and experience of it over here. We were very quick to adopt and embrace HubSpot CMS because it fulfilled just so many of the technical requirements, and allowed us to focus on creating those beautiful, effective user experiences. And it also showed the power of a connected system that was data informed and enriched, as you've said. And you've reminded me of something Luke Summerfield said to me once, and I think he was quoting someone else, and he said, technology is at its best when it disappears. And that was what HubSpot was working to do and achieve with CMS and web hosting technology, which is incredibly complicated. And I really think it achieved that with CMS and made most of the technology just, evaporate from view and let customers focus on the much more important work of their, creating their customer experience, creating their content. And so CMS is and was great, but things have changed. What's been driving the hard work that's gone into this most recent evolution from CMS Hub into Content Hub?
Yeah. So, if you look at the landscape out there these days, and we look at the landscape back in the day. So, in 2006, Brian and Dharmesh coined the term inbound marketing, and that was something that was revolutionary at the time. So I remember inbound marketing when it first came out, and I remember we were signing up clients left and right. We were using it for ourselves, and the reason we were is because it was so successful, and you could have it down to a science. You created some blogs, you created some landing pages with some offers, and you added a little lead nurturing it. And that was content marketing at that time in a nutshell, right? And we could just do that over and over, and it worked so incredibly well that clients would just refer other clients, and it just had this snowball effect. But over time, so much has changed. You have so many new social networks now. You have so many new channels. What was considered thought leadership at the time maybe was like a 500-word blog. If you wrote a 500-word blog these days, it wouldn't get any attention whatsoever. So now the bar of quality to create, expertise-backed quality content is raised much higher. You need to have long-form posts. It needs to be media-rich. You need to create audio content, video content, like we're doing now, right? And so it really evolved in what was needed. And so who better than to reinvent the tools that we use for content marketing and make AI, which is, there's been this AI explosion, which has really changed the way that marketers do things. So now they're even using more tools in their stack to then kind of combine the power of all those forces and then reinvent essentially the tools that content marketers use for content marketing. And so that's really where Content Hub came from, is we wanted to reinvent content marketing again and give the tools to people that are really going to make them successful in today's landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. It really has changed so much in a fairly short period of time, hasn't it? The number of ways and mediums in which buyers are consuming content has, exploded. Marketers, fortunately, are responding to that, change in consumption and change in need. What works, vis-a-vis lead generation, demand generation, pipeline generation, that's always shifting as well. So I think it's really important that, marketers do stay abreast of and aware of what buyers are demanding from them and adapt their strategies. And they need the tools to be able to do it. And I mean, as we ourselves have ventured into new areas, you're having to learn a lot of new things and put in place a lot of new technologies and so on. And now here's HubSpot with an all-in-one solution for a great many of those requirements. It's very exciting indeed to think about what marketers can do with Content Hub. In a nutshell, what are the new features that make up Content Hub that are, built onto and around what was already present in CMS Hub?
Yeah. So there's like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of AI baked in. So we have something called brand voice. So this is going to help you keep consistency of your content across all your content. And the other thing it really helps with too is AI sometimes can sound robotic, right? You have to kind of train it to have this type of voice and this type of personality. And so we wanted Gen AI content to sound like your brand voice. Mm-hmm. And so that when you're creating content using it, it's got your tone, your personality, and so on. And
do you want to actually, Gabe, you've kindly offered to demonstrate some of these features for us. Do you want to walk through what features have been added, or do you want to go straight to the demo part and show us them as you talk us through them? What would be better for you?
Yeah, I mean, we can jump into the demo right away if we want, and then kind of have some conversation around it. Sure.
Well, because I think brand voice is probably one of the first parts that you're able to demo for us. So I think it makes sense to bring that up if that's all right, and then we can talk to it. So let me get that up there.
So this is essentially how you configure brand voice. And so what I'm going to do here is I can just click my generate brand voice button. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a 500 word writing sample here. And then I tell it what type of sample is this. So this was something I grabbed from a blog post, but as you can see, you can grab it from a case study, an article, really any type of content. And then I'm going to give it an audience sample. So let me say this is for CEOs and marketers. Click next. And now what it's going to do is it's going to generate, based on that writing sample, what the tone and personality is. And I can have up to 4 for each. I can self-select in those right here. And then when I'm done, I'll have those here, but I can also give it more context. So I can give it a little extra training, tell it a little bit about your business specifically. And I can then also choose what channels I want to apply this to. So blog, email, pages, and social. And then whenever I'm in a piece of content, then there's 2 ways I can use this. So I can just highlight this, and I can say, apply my brand voice to this. So it will adjust it to be consistent. Or I can, for instance, if I am, while this is coming up here, oh, there we go. So there's what it generated. I can insert it or regenerate it. Or what I can do, let's see where I am here. Let me just come back out of here. I'll go into my blog. So if I'm in my blog, let's say I'm going to generate a new piece of content using my AI blog generator here. What that's going to do is it's going to generate the content from scratch in my brand voice. And so I would click this here, and we could run through this process. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but when I run through the AI blog post generator here, which I guess I can show this as well, this would use my brand voice.
Yeah, I think it's worth just pausing a moment on the subject of brand voice, because that in itself is very interesting, because AI is well, we're all aware of it, we're all working with it and using it and trialing it, but it's also still new, and there's a lot of uncertainty around how it can be effectively and even safely used within B2B marketing in particular. But one of the issues is the sort of the generic nature of the output from a general tool, and this ability that you're providing for people to inform and tune the content that's generated, around, as you say, the brand voice. And I think the screens you've already shown us give us some real confidence that the tools are correctly identifying our brand tone and our values that come through in the sample content we provide, and therefore it is able to apply them and shape them. And we've already seen some really quite promising results from that, which is not what you typically or necessarily get from a generic Gen AI tool that you might be using. So yeah, HubSpot's already done something there, which I think differentiates it from a lot of the other options that are available to us, and creates a bit more safety for marketers already around Gen AI, which is really interesting. And I'm sure that sort of trust and confidence that users have is on HubSpot's mind when it builds these tools out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, what's even more promising is that this is really the tip of the iceberg. So as we go through all these different features today, this is really just a starting point. So what you're going to see moving forward is going to be even more exciting.
Okay.
Some of which we can kind of talk about maybe towards the end, and some of it I'll maybe be a little bit more general about. But I think there's some really, really amazing things that are going to be coming, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think something else people will notice is how a lot of what you're hopefully going to demonstrate like supports one another. That these are not sort of spot solutions, or not only spot solutions. Brand voice, it applies through a lot of different applications and areas, and I think that's what we'll probably see. Now if we talk about blog generation using Gen AI.
Yep. So that's 100%. You're going to notice that as we go through these, a lot of them flow into each other. And one of the things that with blogging is sometimes you just have writer's block. And when we have this tool right here, hey, if I'm having writer's block, I can generate an idea really at any time. And what it does here is it looks at all your previous content, and it's also just to make sure that it's not recommending something that's already been in there. Or it's and it's also going out and looking at different keyword data as well. So that based on your keyword data, based on what your company does, and then based on blogs you've already written, it's going to then suggest a topic for you here. Now, if I don't want to suggest a topic, I can also just come in with a keyword. So let's say I just wanted to come in with a keyword here. I could say I could do a keyword. I take that back. I still need some sort of topic, but I can make it general, for instance. So I can do, let's say I just want to talk about data analytics, and I want to, and let's say I use no keyword here. And you can see here, this is a multilingual feature. So I can choose who's my country of audience, and then which specific blog I want to publish it to. And when I click next here, it's going to give me a bunch of titles along with some keyword data. Now, this is something I'm super excited about, because if you write a blog, I remember back when I was in the agency days, you write a blog, it seems like it's not that in-depth of a process, but when you start to think about all the keyword research that goes into it, the content strategy, the ideation, the actual writing of the post, finding an image, all the different things that you have around it. I remember it used to take us typically on average 6 to 10 hours to write just a single blog post. And with something like this just took maybe like an hour or two of keyword research and just did it for me, right?
Right.
And so it suggested some topics around data analytics now. It's showing me monthly search volume here. So how many people are searching for this in a month? How difficult is it going to be to rank for this specific topic? And then you could see what is this is one of my favorites, is keyword intent. And so essentially it gives you four different categories: navigational, informational, commercial, and transactional intent. And each of these aligns to a stage in the buying journey. So if I look at informational intent, hey, this user wants to learn more about something. Or commercial intent, users want to do research before making a purchase decision. Or transactional intent, hey, I'm ready to buy something. So this is like early, middle, late stage buyer journey. So I can ensure that what I'm writing about is going to align with that. And so something that's, two things right off the bat that are helping you save time. And then let's just say I'm going to choose one of these. And then I'm going to get into an outline here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take a second here for that just to generate.
Got to give AI time to do its thing.
Yes. And so you can see here, it gave me a title, a description. It also gave me an image. So a description of an image that I can generate. I'm going to uncheck that just for the sake of time, because it takes a little extra time to generate. But then you can see I have all my different my outline and my paragraph headers. I can add more paragraphs. I can adjust this. But then what's really nice is I can give it specific talking points. Hey, make sure you talk about this, this, and this, so that it's going out and grabbing that information and making sure it's putting it in. And then once I'm done with that, I can just generate the blog post. It's going to take a couple seconds here, but it's going to look something like this, which we can look at again once it's done generating. So this was an AI generated blog post. Image was also generated here, just as we're looking at this. So you could say it's mid to long form content, and it just gave you that blog. And so you could use this as your starting point, and say, hey, I have 80-90% of the work done here for me. Let me go in and add that extra human touch. Let me go in and add that extra expertise on top of this,
right,
just to save me time.
Yeah, a couple of things that stand out to me there is that that step-by-step process, again, that builds in some care and some confidence and some safety for marketers that want to use AI to, increase their productivity and increase their reach and impact. And I think if you've got that kind of tooling, and if you also happen to have a content strategy and, marketers whose skill is writing, then you've got a really powerful set of tools at your disposal now to create content that you still need to inject the human, eye for detail, opinion, and expertise into, but you can nevertheless, by following that step-by-step process, build something that's pretty good, either as a draft or as a starting point or just as an ideation exercise. There's really some interesting stuff taking place there and being built in. And you mentioned intent as well, keyword intent being such an important topic now, and such a good guide really to marketers as to what kind of content to create for different keywords and search queries that buyers are using, because there is such a different behavior and expectation on commercial intent content versus informational and navigational content. So I think supplying marketers with that information is a real generous act actually by HubSpot. So that is very interesting. And I think, if you think about small businesses with small marketing teams who are, know what they need to do to compete, but don't have the luxury of teams and resources, this is potentially a very exciting way to fast track their, early endeavors and, help them achieve their scale, maybe.
This is a gold mine for, I think, SMB and marketers maybe who are in market who are really strapped for time, and it's really something that's going to save you a lot of time. I think we actually ran something recently with HubSpot Research. We did a survey, and on average, and this is not necessarily with HubSpot AI, this is just AI in general, but on average, marketers who used AI saved 2 hours per asset on average. And so if you can think of all the different assets you're creating in a week, you can save yourself a lot of time, and really make yourself a lot more effective using tools like that.
I'm interested to get on to AI image generation, and I don't want to go there too soon. So, what's next on your series of demos that you can show us?
So maybe before I go into AI image generation, let's look at this post narration. And we talked about earlier that sorry, go ahead.
This is interesting. I mean, I'm keen to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah. So if you look at quality of content, again, that bar has been significantly raised. And so with post narration here, what I can do is I just pretty much click this, and you can see it gave me my whole blog as a transcript. Now, if you're going to create an audio version, it's not necessarily going to read the same way as what if you would have a text version, right? So I may then want to change the script so it reads better for audio. And then what I have here is I have 6 different voices I can choose from. They're very realistic. So I don't know if this is going to come through in audio. Let's see. I'll play and see if it actually does come through.
We'll see if it works.
So I don't know if the audience can hear that or not, but once I have whatever voice I want, I can just click generate. And it's gonna.
We couldn't hear that, unfortunately, but I have heard it on another video, and it was remarkably realistic. So yeah, I can give the viewers my word that is pretty realistic voicing that they've got to this.
And what's really great is even when you're generating audio and you're doing it in a multilingual fashion, I'm sorry, or in a different language, it adopts kind of the accent of that language. So it
Wow.
sounds, again, not just realistic in English, but across multiple different languages. And I won't play it since we can't hear it here, but essentially it's created this post narration, and then I'm very easily able to add it to my blog here. And I have this then player right in my blog, and it was that simple. I just created an audio version somebody can listen to just wherever they are on the fly. I'm in my car, I'm wherever I am. I now have an audio version of this piece of content that I can use.
Interesting. For me, this is one of a couple of features of Content Hub that feels a little rooted in potentially future demands that the majority of marketers don't yet know exists or hear much about. You know, what are you able to share anything in terms of research or customer stories or conversations that led to the development of this sort of feature?
Ooh, good question. I think it was really just an opportunity that as we're shifting, it's almost that scenario that I just talked about. People are on the go a lot more, and they're consuming more content, but they don't always have the ability to read content. And some people, honestly, it's just a preference. They like to listen to content. They want to watch video. They like to read content. So me personally, I'm a big listener. I like to listen. I do not like reading. It's my ADHD. I cannot sit still and listen or read a book at a time. But I will
Mm,
listen to content all day, right? And so it's meeting users where their preferences are is a big part of it.
yep. Yep.
Um, but there's also an accessibility piece to this as well. So this
Right.
helps those with accessibility needs as well being able to consume content. So it's a big win really in both of those areas.
I'll be interested to see, how this develops. And I think a key part of it is having the tools and the technology available right there where the content is and at no extra cost or complexity. Because until now, that's not been something that's, easy or cheap to do well, but it suddenly is. And so for the first time, it's possible for, blogs to come with a narrated version, as part of the course. So will we see users, searching, finding content, and then because they're on the train or because they're doing their morning drive, just hitting play on those pieces of content as a new standard behavior? And I do think the accessibility point's really interesting because, of course, we should do whatever we can to make content accessible for all. And, having audio versions that are really natural and high quality is potentially a big win for people with accessibility challenges. So I'm really excited to see if that becomes, a sort of a benefit of utilizing this kind of technology. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah. The other thing too, I think that's part of this that there's no proof or research behind it. This is more just my hunch, just based on knowing a little bit about SEO and how it typically works. But if you have an audio version, that potentially going to help people engage with your page more, help keep them on your page more and engaged with it. And that could be something that potentially also helps with SEO and ranking on a page as you increase the quality of that post to potentially see some additional rank with it as well.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing multi-medium content, have an edge. I think we're still working out sometimes or to some extent, what that edge is and how to repeatedly obtain it. But you're absolutely right. There are opportunities and the potential for this to be a very, a contributing factor in creating that improved discoverability, maybe across more channels in the future, and rank and position through engagement and quality of the experience that's offered. Yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes, and I think it's a sort of early move by HubSpot in that regard, but an exciting one because there's so much, unknown. There's so much ahead of us in that way. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So next feature we can show is AI image generator, and with AI image generator, you're getting to the end of your blog, you're ready to publish it, and then you're oh man, I still got to go find an image for this. And I remember going through that a lot. And then you go and you search different stock media sites, you search different libraries, you do your Google image searches, just trying to find the right image. And now I can essentially create whatever image I want very quickly. I don't have to worry about licensing for it necessarily. I can just tell it exactly what I want. So I'm going to come here and come up to image, and I'll give it a description of what I'm looking for. Let's say I'm going to just do something simple like strawberries on waffles. And I can have different styles here. Let's see. It looks like spelling is a little here today, but AI will fix it if that's wrong. So I can choose different styles of art that I want here, and I can choose different dimensions based on what I'm making. Is it for social? Is it for a blog? Is it for a landing page, web page, whatever the case is? And then I'm able to generate this. And you are going to see some of the most delicious strawberries on waffles you've ever seen on here. If you're like me, it's early in the morning and it's breakfast time.
This would go down quite well right now, would it?
Yeah. But no, and with with AI image generation, it's always going to be the case of the better description I can give it, the better it's going to do for what it's going to generate. So something like strawberries with waffles here is very basic. I can then train and say, hey, I love this image. You didn't do a good job with this one. Try again. And then I can also edit this. So if I want to change the size or if I want to crop it, whatever the case is, I can do that. And then I just insert it into my blog, and there are my
look at that. There it is.
Strawberries with waffles.
I think AI image generation is a really interesting topic, and it's potentially, I think it's even more sort of sensitive right now than AI text generation. I estimate that the majority of marketers, watching live or watching later, will probably still feel fairly hung up about whether an image, looks real versus AI generated, whether the hands have the right number of fingers or the text in the background is legible. I feel, and I don't want to put you in a difficult position here, but I'm interested in your personal opinion, and if there is one, that of HubSpot's. Will we stop caring some point in the near future about whether an image for a blog, for example, is real or not? Because at the moment, it feels like we all care too much to really embrace AI image generation. And I think some businesses, entities, individuals are betting on that changing.
I definitely think so. I mean, the technology is getting better and better and better. Even the different libraries, like, from the library that's in here right now, we're exploring other libraries to use, which we've seen even better results. The finger, I think, problem has for the most part went away. But yes, there's still inconsistencies. And, if you're just looking at a blog, you're mostly looking at the content of that blog. Are you really that focused on, I really want to look for all the little inconsistencies in this image to see if it was AI generated? And so my personal opinion is it's just going to become part of life. And
yeah,
not everybody's going to have that opinion. I think there's still a lot of concern out there, and rightfully so, right? I mean, I think there are still a lot of legitimate concerns, and we have to be careful. But that's what's important is, I guess, being transparent about what's being used and how it's being used. And actually, you'll see some of one of the things you'll be able to see in the alt text here is some of the details that were used to generate the image as well. So it automatically inserts some of that in the alt text. But I think transparency is important. But me personally, I think people are just going to adapt, and it's going to become a way of life.
Yeah. I think I shared that view, and I think it's necessary if we're going to, come to terms with using AI generated content, voice, images in our marketing. There's going to have to be shift in, perceptions and behavior. But you've hinted at something which I think is really important, and I think underpins why what HubSpot's offering in terms of AI tooling is already, a cut above. It's not just one, one tool for all purposes, one-stop shop solution you guys are using. You're taking the, a variety of different tools, technologies, languages, libraries, and building solutions for users that deliver the best possible results in that medium, in that place. And I think a lot of us who are used to, trying everything with one tool will see that there is a quality difference between what's been produced from HubSpot AI versus what we've been getting from those kinds of experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually something that you may not have seen yet because it's hot off the press, just like within the last day or two.
Here we
But
go.
we just launched this called BehindHubspotAI.com.
Oh,
And if you come up to cards here, you will see every single feature that's in here, and you're going to see what what the data details are, the model details, who it's available to. So you're going to see a lot of transparency here in what's being used for AI. So you can see here we're using Dolly 3, for instance.
yeah.
We're using SEM Rush for monthly search volume and some of the keyword research in there. And so you can come in here and see all the different details of what's being used for each of those systems. And so again, like I talked about earlier, something that's really important with AI is just being transparent. And so this allows that level of transparency to use, hey, what are all the different models that are being used? What tools are being used, et cetera. And yes, we are always looking to use the best in class for all these different libraries. And there is a lot of that going on behind the scenes right now, looking at the different, specific tools for each specific tool, what AI model, what AI tool is going to work best, and continuing to improve it. And as time continues to improve, or as AI continues to improve over time, there's going to be different models that are going to get better and better and better. And so we're able to provide the best in class for each of those models for each tool.
Wow. I think that's brilliant and really reassuring for people that are, keen to start experimenting with AI. And I do think this speaks to the real value that HubSpot's bringing, which is in that sort of, beyond just sending a prompt off to an API and giving you the result back, going the extra mile on behalf of people to pick the best language, pick the best tool, tune it, train it to a certain extent on data that's, really leads to the best results. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really interesting. Yeah, really fascinating. I'm going to have a look at that webpage myself right after this, as I'm sure many of those watching will do. Okay, what's next? What else would you like to show us in Content Hub?
So let me see how we're doing in time. Oh, we got some time still. So
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
I'll go over some kind of smaller ones quicker. But one of the other ones that really excites me is actually AI translation. And so,
Right.
we just talked about using different best in class. And so this is actually a place where we use DeepL. I think a lot of people are familiar with DeepL and what it provides. But essentially, I can at any point just bring out a different translation. And again, this can be used for your blog. This can be used for web pages, landing pages. And all I essentially have to do is say that I want to create a multi-language variation, click this little translate button, and then right away it's going to create an AI translated version for this. And again, if you're familiar with DeepL, DeepL is not some of the translation technologies you've seen in the past. I won't name any names. But these are very, very accurate translations from what we've seen. And look, nothing's going to be perfect. So you're still going to have to go through and proofread it and make sure that everything's on par with what you're looking for. But it's going to get you, again, 90% of the way there to let you then just come in and do some touch-ups. And this is something that's saving teams a lot of time who are creating content for other languages. And also expanding reach. So maybe you just couldn't afford or put the resources into creating translations, but now you can, and maybe you're going to be fine with that 90% that it gets you there for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've heard really good things about DeepL. And not surprised that plus an AI approach, can produce really high quality translations, whereas previously that was a lot harder to do. That is very exciting too. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of businesses will get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah. So beyond that, then maybe just shifting gears. We have a member blog functionality, which maybe I'll show that just really quick, just to get in here. Let's see this. But with this, one of the things that we're seeing as we're talking about third-party cookies going away, and with
Yep.
AI search really coming up, right, is being able to protect your content. And so we have this feature where you can do self-registration for a blog. And so
Yeah.
if I turn this on, wherever I have this little read more, it's going to only preview that part of the blog. And so anywhere I can put this read more in here, I can then say, hey, preview this blog. This is what it would look like to everybody in here. But then if I went to show me what this looks like for somebody who's not signed in, you're only going to see a portion of this here. And
Right.
so it's going to require them to then just create an account and log in. And so in that third party, cookie world going away, I can now, again, capture somebody's information. If I want to protect my content from AI, for instance, and I don't want it being read, I can add something like this to protect my content as well. And so just a small feature, but again, it's something that helps with lead generation, something that's just going to impact your bottom line. And or if you just wanted to create like a members area, right, encourage people to sign up for a newsletter, whatever the case it may be, has some good uses here.
Yeah, I bet that's been requested frequently by HubSpot users on community and elsewhere. So it's really good to see that come through. And I think it's just it's a good reflection of the shifting sands of what's working in marketing and how buyers are behaving. And they don't always shift in the same direction. It's like on the one hand, we're talking about publishing more content to more places and more channels. And then on the other hand, we're talking about protecting content from certain, prying eyes. Well, yeah, sometimes you need to do both, right? Or sometimes you need to do something that's very different to another business in order to meet the needs of your market and your buyer and generate your success. So yeah, keeping up with what's needed, across a diverse set of requirements is what that feels like it's helping users to do.
Yep. And you can do that on a blog by blog basis. You can do it across an entire blog. So you have a lot of flexibility into how you want to use it.
Yeah, that looks really neat, really powerful. Yeah.
Now let's get into the big guns. Now let's move over to something called Content Remix.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is I think probably the flagship feature here, and this allows you to take that, for instance, that blog I just wrote and remix it into other content. And so let's say I want to create an entire campaign from just that piece of content that I just created. So I can pick any blog that I have here. I don't even remember what I created here, but so I'll choose this as the first blog. And now I get to say, okay, here's my initial blog. What types of new content do I want to spin off and generate from this? So let's say I'm going to create a campaign. I want a social post. I want a landing page. I want to send an email. I could even say, give me another blog to spin off of this blog. And I'm just going to click next here. And then you're going to see it allows me to give specific instructions. Which network do I want to create a post for? What objectives do you have here? Same thing with landing page. What template do I want to use? What objectives do I have? Blog, wow. Same thing. Which blog I'm producing it for? How long do I want it? How long do I want it for? Which email template? Again, the objective. So I can give it these instructions within here. I'm just going to take images out just because it takes a little bit extra time here for the generation. And then I'm going to just generate this. And you can see in a flash, it's going to take a little bit of a race to create all these, but it's going to create all this content for me and then allow me to save it right in. So you can see here, my social one generated pretty quickly here. So I can click on this and see what this looks like. And now, if I'm using HubSpot for my social tool, I can save and edit it right into my social tool. If I'm not, I can click the little copy button here and I can copy it into whatever social tool I'm using. Same thing here with email, with the blog. It's allowing me to create a lot of content very quickly and saving a lot of time.
Yeah, wow. That's like sort of workflows for marketers, right? It's, not just the communication aspect, but the sort of campaign building out, automated, repeatable, streamlined, and getting you 90% of the way there in many of the formats that you want to utilize, and allowing you to do the fine tuning and the refinement of it. Interesting. For me, I mean, again, AI in all aspects is still a somewhat not always controversial, but it's a burgeoning area where there's a lot still to come in terms of development and improvement. I dare say this is a tool that will only get better and better with time and with improvements in what AI can do.
Yep. And expanding just the different content types that it can produce, and just the derivatives. And what's great about this is once I have this, I can save it here. So I have saved a remix for it. I can pop right back in here, and all I have to do is just change the piece of content that I input initially. I can change it to anything. And then right away, hey, I wrote a new blog post, save it. Boom. I have my template set up to create my next to create the next iteration of what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Wow. It's like a playbook that actually works, does the work for you to some extent as well. That's impressive stuff. I'm going to be looking at that with a lot of interest, to see what it can do and what it can offer our customers as well. That's really exciting. I don't know. I want to be mindful of time. What you've shown us is really incredible. I don't know if you can show us, but I would like to talk briefly about podcasts. Is that something that makes sense to bring on screen? Or this
Absolutely.
is a really interesting area too. A format and a medium that's seeing a lot of success and interest right now. So I think it's great that you've built this in. What are the sort of call outs about podcasts?
Yeah. So essentially, this is going to work with all your major networks. So we do two sides of this. We do your hosting, but also help you with your generation. And so you can see here, I have my RSS URL for my show. I can send this to my Spotify's and my Amazon Music's and my Apple's, and it's going to be able to host all my episodes. But then it's also going to be able to generate my content as well. So if I jump into one of these and just look at how this works, essentially, I'm going to come back here. This is where I'm going to start. And I can either upload existing audio or
Mhm.
I can generate audio from text. And same way we saw in post narration, I can choose my voice. I can give it some content here and then click generate. And it's going to generate and create that episode for me. And then all I do is come in here, give it a title, some show notes, an image, and I'm off to the races essentially with it. And it's going to publish to all those major networks. But also, it also gives me a module. So if I pop up into here, it's going to give me a module to then put those podcasts on my website to promote my website as well. And so,
Right.
again, we kind of talked about earlier of the ease of use with the CMS and having kind of everything in here. If I were to look at this, all I would have to do is drag this podcast module onto here, and select the episode I want. Boom, that's it. And you can see here the transparency. For instance, this is an episode I uploaded versus this is an AI generated episode right here that you can see here. And so it gives you that
Okay.
transparency as well.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, I think there's so much potential in podcasting, in terms of what it helps businesses to sort of do in terms of content creation, getting their opinion and their thought leadership out there, creating content that can be reused multiple ways, multiple formats. But it's pretty hard to get started. And so this takes away some of that pain, and will hopefully help a lot of people do something that they've maybe wanted to do for quite some time now. And they can get a head start now thanks to this. So that's really exciting stuff. Yeah, love a good podcast. So I think I'll take down your screen if that's okay for now,
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabe. Let's see if we can get you back into there we go. Yeah, wow. I mean, that was just incredible seeing some of that in action. And that's not everything that's new. There's other stuff that we haven't been able to touch upon there. But it's also all in addition to what was already there, which is creating beautiful performant websites with blogs and landing pages and forms and calls to action and localized variations, A/B tests. I mean, the list goes on in terms of what Content Hub offers people now. It's really quite a powerhouse, isn't it?
Absolutely. You have your whole web management system, and now you have a complete content management system. And I think, like I talked about earlier, there's a lot more to come still. Even if we just, as we're talking about podcasts, I can't get into the details of what's coming for podcasts, but again, we're just scratching the surface of what's going there. And you're going to see that for really all the features that I showed today. It's just the beginning of what's there. There's going to be big improvements you're going to continue to see over the course of the year, and really make those into some really well-rounded features. And very excited for those in the coming months to debut.
Oh, yeah, can't wait to see what comes next, whilst just getting to grips with everything that's there already. I suspect there's a variety of people watching, listening, that are interested in how they get access to these tools and features, but it varies, I think, based on whether people are existing HubSpot users or not, or whether they've got parts of the ecosystem or not. So can we just quickly check off how potential users and existing users of HubSpot are impacted by the change to Content Hub? So, for example, if we take existing CMS Hub users, is there an impact on them by the change to Content Hub?
So there's no impact to existing users. You will get a few of the tools included. Okay. So you will get a couple of them, but I think the biggest tools that we showed today, you're going to have to upgrade to Content Hub for that. It's roughly $100 upgrade to get access to all of these new tools if you're already a CMS user. If you're on the seats model, you'll continue on the seats model. If you're not on the seats model, like I'm sure most are, since it's pretty new, you don't have to upgrade to a seats model. So you can continue on your same legacy model that you have, and you'll be able to add Content Hub as a CMS user. Same thing with Marketing Hub. Marketing Hub users are going to retain all their same features, but we also have this new package called Marketing Plus now. So if you're a Marketing Hub user and you don't have Content Hub yet, we have this bundle, a discounted bundle already that includes Marketing Hub and Content Hub. At the pro level, it starts at $900, which is just essentially Marketing Hub is $800 at pro. For $100 more off the kind of list price, you can add Content Hub to it, which between the two is a 30% discount on the two tools combined. Same is very similar for Enterprise as well. We have an Enterprise version of that where you can get both of the Enterprise versions for a discounted rate as well.
That's pretty compelling. So if you're an existing Marketing Hub customer or completely new to HubSpot, Marketing Plus, either as an upgrade or as an entry point, provides a really attractive way to get into both Content Hub and Marketing Hub, and really just do all the marketing you need across all the channels that you need to do and all the content types that you could possibly want to. Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Is there anyone else that I wanted to make sure they understood the impact on them? So you can't buy CMS Hub anymore. CMS is inside Content Hub, along with a whole host of other stuff as well.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
And who would you say benefits the most from the new makeup of Content Hub? Do you think there's a particular user that really gets a massive, massive boost from that, or different impacts on different users?
I think it's really going to be different impacts on different users. You're going to have different features that apply or are probably more attractive to certain users than others. So for instance, at your SMB and mid-market where marketers are very time-strapped and teams are smaller, right? Your SMB might have a team of 1. Your mid-market might have a team of 1 to 3 users. So features like your blog generator, the podcast generation, if you don't have that full studio, if you don't have all those tools to do something for podcasts, you can very quickly create podcasts. You can very quickly create blogs. And so when you're time strapped, those tools help. But as you get more up market and you're trying to create entire campaigns quickly, or you're trying to you need to translate content to get across a global market. That's where AI translations, content remix, another feature we didn't talk about, but content approvals were and brand voice to help you kind of keep that content consistent across all your content. That those tools may be more applicable. So I think we have something for everybody, just depending on where you are, whether you're small business, mid-market business, or a larger corporate business.
Yeah, I think if you're SME, SMB, then, content generation at speed in multiple formats and potentially in multiple languages, very, very exciting. And if you're larger, governance, quality assurance, consistency, brand are all really important too. So that's exciting to hear those coming through. As you've hinted, more than we could possibly talk about today included in this package. We've got lots of really interesting questions, too many to possibly answer today. Do you mind if we take just a minute or two to answer a couple of the early ones that came in, though? Because I think they are really, really interesting. Brilliant. So hopefully this pops up. So Jan Van Veen asks us, can AI blog generator also reuse existing content on, for example, the website?
So it doesn't reuse. AI blog generator will not reuse that existing content. However, content remix is made to do exactly that. And so, for instance, let's say I was doing a hub and spoke strategy for my content, and I took that initial blog, and let's say I have a paragraph on each item that I want to create a bigger hub and spoke strategy for. I can use content remix and give it the directive to say, I want to take this one blog and I want to create 4 new blogs out of it, and then give it the directives of what you want for each of those blogs. And now you can very quickly create this hub and spoke strategy to do that. So a blog generator won't reuse that existing content. If you use the idea generation, it will look at your existing content, just not to suggest the same thing over and over. But that's exactly what content remix is made for that.
And of course, brand voice is guided by existing content that you supply as a sample to it. So you can also make sure that the way your website's written impacts your AI generated content through that sort of method as well. So there is some application of it in that way as well. That's really interesting. Thank you. And Carl Sadecki says, can you track post narration stats? That's an interesting question.
So coming soon, excuse me, this has been a big request for us, is to track the different metrics around post narration. So not yet, but coming very soon, you'll see something like that.
I bet you've got a long list of feature requests that you're going to be working through at a fair old clip. I have no doubt.
I should just put a little asterisk on that. Things can always change, and just being a public company, we always have to be careful about what we say. Yep. So we are definitely looking into that, and that has been highly requested. You will very highly likely see that, but I always want to just put that asterisk on there that we're not necessarily promising anything, but highly likely you will see that.
Yeah, I hear that. Absolutely. John McRae says, can the audio narration be exported and embedded in WordPress sites with HTML? Now, the answer to this may be no or yes, I'm interested, but it also touches on another feature that we didn't get time to talk about, but people might want to go away and research.
Yeah. So we have this feature called Content Embed that is made specifically for this. And so one of the biggest requests we got, even going back to 2013 when CMS Hub launched and we had something called Smart Content, was, can I use Smart Content on WordPress? And the answer was always no. But now the answer is yes, because we have this new feature called Content Embed that you can be right inside of WordPress, just type a / command, and you'll be able to then use content that's inside of HubSpot on your WordPress website. And so, for instance, with audio narration like my podcast, I can build a content embed and pull my podcast into that content embed and then use that within WordPress for smart content, for podcasts, whatever. But also, all it's doing is creating an MP3 file. So at any point, if you wanted, you could just go into your file manager, grab that MP3 file, and use it however you like, because you do have that audio in there.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, fantastic. And then perhaps the last one for now, but a very interesting one, I think. Kelly Stoll asks, how is the content different from ChatGPT? And we touched upon this, but I think it's worth answering it again, perhaps, because it's such a critical and I think interesting point about how HubSpot AI and Content Hub differs from what we may have all experienced.
Yep. So if you saw essentially earlier, we are using ChatGPT as part of our stack, for certain tools. And so, but what the advantage you have here is ChatGPT is very siloed in what it's looking at. And so there's 2 parts. First, you're getting all these different tools that talk to each other. So with ChatGPT, yes, I can generate something, but I can very quickly have my portal configured to have my brand voice, to very quickly take a blog and remix it. But then we also talked about beyond that, we're not necessarily just using ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just one specific, tool in a lot of different tools out there. And so we're able to use several different tools to give you the best of breed. So you don't have to sign up for ChatGPT and Midjourney and DeepL and SEM Rush and all these different technologies that we're using behind the scenes. We're bringing them and consolidating them all into one platform to give you the best of all those different platforms all in one spot.
Yeah, I think that is that's the key to this, and that's what's really interesting about it, and that is what's led to better than average results that we've seen as well with it. All right, fantastic. I'm certainly going to attempt to answer all questions after the event, and I might get help from Gabe and from Dan as well, potentially, who's in the background. So I think I'm just going to end. I've got 2 last questions for you, Gabe, if it's okay, and then I'll wind up the live session. And it's about next steps. So first, existing customers of HubSpot that have got Marketing Hub or CMS Hub or any part of the ecosystem, if they want to find out more about Content Hub, if they want to explore pricing, or they want to, talk to someone about it, who should be their point of contact?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a ready customer, talk to your customer success rep that you're working with. They can certainly help you out. Or if you have a good relationship with whoever your rep was that initially sold you Content Hub, or the partner that you're working with, reach out to your partner, whoever that is. If you're working with a partner, go to your partner first for sure. If you're, they're going to help you out. If you're a direct customer and you're not working with a partner, then you can reach out to your CS or sales rep. If you're new and you just want to try it out, you can go just start a trial and see what it's like, start playing around with it. Or if you want a demo, you can go on the website and click the get a demo button. You'll have a rep who will happily walk you through a demo.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you're interested in either, migrating your site to HubSpot Content Hub, or building, designing, or developing a new site, to get even better results on HubSpot Content Hub, then by all means reach out to us or talk to a partner in your area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I definitely want to give a shout out to Blend here. I mean, you didn't really, I don't think you gave yourself enough credit, but one of the reasons me and Phil know each other is because of the amazing work that they do. And I've always given them big props. If you look at their portfolio and look at the work that they have done, it's top notch. And Blend is always at the top of my list for partners that I would recommend. And they just create some really, really amazing work. So I want to make sure that they get their due props here as well.
Well, thank you, Gabe. Absolutely. Yeah. Feel free, take a look at our portfolio on our website, or the HubSpot Inspire Gallery, which features a great many of those sites too, but is a great place to see what's possible on HubSpot as a CMS, but on Content Hub. Yeah, thank you for that. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting, useful, informative. I certainly did. Gabe, I'll thank you very much for providing such great insight and a fantastic demo on the tools. And I'll end the event there, and I'll speak to you in a moment, Gabe. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.